Hello viewers, well back in September I took a trip to Playground Games before the launch of Forza Horizon 2. An interview we weren't able to get up at the time, but still I wanted to share with you a conversation with the Creative Director Ralph Fulton. A bit about behind the scenes, you know, coming from Forza Horizon 1, moving on to the new game and the challenges that brought along with the adjustment to the new Xbox One hardware. But as we can see, some of the gamers enjoying it on the day. Let's listen to Ralph and what he had to say. Hello viewers, well now I'm joined by Creative Director for Forza Horizon 2, Ralph Fulton. Ralph, thanks for your time today. So I suppose we start with Forza Horizon 1. What did you learn from that? Building forward, what were the initial targets?
So that's a really big question, isn't it? I mean, I guess the first thing I'd say about the period immediately after the launch of Horizon 1 was, well, first of all, we took a well-earned holiday. And then secondly, I think we were really blown away by the response we got. Not just from reviewers, which is obviously it's kind of important, but also from the Forza community, from the racing community as well, because we were doing with Forza Horizon 1 something new, something that I think almost up to the day we launched, people weren't entirely sure what it was. And certainly for hardcore Forza fans who are very used to what Forza Motorsport represents, what the Forza brand represents, it was a departure, right? And we knew we were we're experimenting with it. It was incredibly encouraging that we got such a positive response from that. So I guess that was the first almost validation, if you like, that we were doing something right. We were doing something that people really enjoyed and wanted to experience. And then as we started looking at version 2, virtually immediately, so there's part of the studio that started working on the Rally expansion, which came out in December of that year. But a large part of certainly the design group in Playground really started churning on ideas for the next version. And I guess part of that process was, what do we feel we could have done better with Horizon 1? Where did we fall short? And another input to that was, what were the community telling us, because they're very knowledgeable about racing, about Forza, and about, vocal about what they want. So they gave us great feedback on things that we were able then to take into that process and consider as part of Forza Horizon 2. Then I guess the third aspect of that whole process was, what should Horizon be on a next-gen platform? Because we knew at that time we were going to be working on what would become Xbox One. We knew that we were going to be working on a next-gen platform, so part of the ideation process for Horizon 2 was, what should this type of game, what should solo play, what should online play look like on a next-gen platform? So if you take those three sort of inputs into the process, that's what we worked on, that's what we brainstormed on. It's always a lot of fun right at the start of the project. There's never a shortage of ideas, but those were the three main factors.
So obviously lots of community input. You've got this community, it's established on Forza, they want the handling to be Forza and they're always concerned about that. They play the game, they've enjoyed it, now you're building on that and you're moving to a new location. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, yeah, so obviously the first game we were in Colorado. It's probably worth going right back to the start of Horizon, the first Horizon, because that shaped how we thought about the location we should be in and the criteria, the list of criteria we had in selecting it. And as you can imagine, there's a long list of things, boxes that we need to tick with a location. It needs to have great driving roads, famous driving roads, incredible beauty, scenery, diversity as well. Long list of things. We used the same list, and we actually used a lot of the same research that we did for the first one on Horizon 2. And interestingly, both the south of France and the north of Italy had been locations we considered for the first game. And as it happened, Colorado scored higher than each of those two did separately. But coming to Xbox One, being able to create a bigger map, we revisited that research that we'd done, the scoring we'd done, and realised, well, these two locations are adjacent. There's a border separating them, but you could pretty much draw a line round the south of France and then north of Italy, Tuscany, that sort of area. And when we did that, and when we actually sort of aggregated their scores from the first one, they outstripped Colorado, so we thought, we looked around, but we always thought right from the start when we'd done that exercise, we need to go to Southern Europe, France and Italy. I feel great that we did, like the way the games come together, it's incredibly beautiful, and a lot of that is due in no small part to the fact we picked an incredibly beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stunning area. You've got lots of twisty roads, up hills, lots of undulation. I will point out, actually, one of my favourite roads is actually the motorway between Milan and Monaco. You can go at high speed, lots of tunnels, lots of coloured lights, and it's funny because you see them in the game, and it's almost barely believable. In some of they're almost like fantasy worlds. So it's nice to see. We've also got weather and times of day and all other additional challenges. Obviously, at time of day in the first one, but with the weather conditions as well, it brings in additional challenges. Talk to me about the implementation of the weather, the off-road, how that affects the cars, handling, and all this sort of stuff in terms of weather and off-road.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing to say is, yes, we've done weather, and that was on our list for the original Horizon. It's something that Forza fans have been asking for in the series for quite some time. So I guess there's two sides to that coin, right? One, so glad that we were able to bring it to this game because it just felt contextually appropriate. It felt like the right game to do it on, and particularly with the increased power of Xbox One, it really enabled us to do the things we've done. The flip side of that coin is that there's a lot of expectation, right? There's a lot of pressure. We knew from the start that we couldn't just bodge weather. We couldn't do it in the way we'd have done it last gen, and I think that's probably why we resisted doing it for so long, is that we wanted to do it right as a kind of a Forza way of thinking. And the way we've done it right on Xbox One in Forza Horizon 2 is really by simulating everything. And I could talk to you in some detail about the lengths we've gone to simulate the atmosphere, right? If you think about the atmosphere, traditionally you'd have a sky dome or a skybox in a racing game. We don't have that. We actually simulate the particles in the atmosphere, the different numbers of different types of particles, because that's what happens in real life. The way sunlight filters through the atmosphere and reaches the Earth determines, density of shadows, colour of shadows, the colour of the sky. The sky is blue because of the way light reflects off water molecules in the atmosphere. That's actually how the colour of our sky is determined as well. Determines the hues of the sunset or the sunrise. Yeah,
I think it's a level of detail people don't always appreciate, but they do when it's actually done right as well. So we see obviously a new map, but a much bigger map this time. Roughly in comparison to the original game, it's a question I get asked quite often: how big is the map? Well, you can give me the definitive answer now.
So it's 3 times larger than the original Horizons map in terms of the space that you've got to drive in, which I think bigger is better, right? Yeah. Everybody understands that. That's certainly,
the detail as well. We like the detail.
So that's an important point and an important trade-off, I guess, is that we never want to relinquish the level of finesse and detail that we bring to creating a world. We craft our roads, so they come from real-world reference. We have a lot of satellite data giving us height mapping and such like. But we individually hand-tune each of these roads to make sure that they drive perfectly within our game. But we are, to answer your question, we're really pleased we've brought a bigger world, and also that there's not just roads in it this time. When we were chatting earlier, you referred to Horizon 1 as open road. I kind of agree with that. Partly due to the limitations of the console itself, it was mainly about the roads. This time we've been able to go much broader, and it's been incredibly freeing from a design perspective to be able to say, okay, what if the player does just drive off in this direction? People were telling us in Horizon 1, I want to drive across that countryside. Yeah. This time we've allowed them to do that, and it's actually opened up huge design opportunities for us as well. Well,
one of the questions that highlights is that people are saying, oh, I'm driving at 100 mile an hour in a Ferrari across a field, I couldn't do that. It's a design decision, isn't it? It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed driving through a field at 100 mile an hour, but at the same time I can appreciate where some of the hardcore fans would like a bit more of a sim in there as well. Just tell me briefly, the design process, very briefly behind that.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I get the same question occasionally. People say, well, you couldn't drive a Lamborghini through a vineyard in real life, and I absolutely agree. You should not do that. That's not to be advised. But in a game, and particularly in a Horizon game, as you'll see when we go on a studio tour shortly this afternoon, one of the fundamental principles of Horizon is it's what we call Horizon fun. We have this written on the walls of our studio describing what it is, because it's part of the DNA of what Horizon is. So whenever we come up against a decision like that in the design team, we use that definition of Horizon fun as the lens that we apply to it. And so yes, in the real life you should not drive a Lamborghini through a vineyard, but in the game, is it fun, as you say? It absolutely is. It's immense fun to take your car anywhere. There's a degree of Forza authenticity that applies. Different cars handle that process better than others. But at the end of the day, we want you to have fun in the game, and that's one of those aspects.
Well, I think that's the key thing, and I certainly did find it fun playing at Gamescom. You know, I really enjoyed the concept of just getting to that location directly. Finally, then, you've got all these new online modes. You've put Forza Horizon 2 together, and sometimes it surprises you. You see elements that are more fun than you ever expected. Tell me the thing that you're most pleased with, that's surprised you, that you're most proud of in Forza Horizon 2.
Wow, yeah. I mean, you're right. There's always that proof point when you finally let the game out. Certainly, I think that was the case with Horizon 1. It will undoubtedly be the case with Horizon 2. I can't wait for people to get their hands on it and start surprising me with their feedback. I hope that the thing which resonates most with people or has the most profound effect with our audience is the re-engineering we've done of online. Specifically, just the, I think, almost magical way that we transition you from solo to online when you decide to do so. You know, so we never force online on you. If you want to play solo, you absolutely can do. I do believe that there's probably a subset of players who don't play online, but might if it just was a little bit easier, a little bit more user-friendly. So in looking at it, we said, okay, no more lobbies. Let's make sure that we utilize the dedicated servers of Xbox Live. We use Smart Match technology to do everything in the background. We never stop you, the player, from driving. So as soon as you jump into online, you've got a very short 2.5-second cutscene welcoming you to online, and then the game transitions seamlessly. It match makes you into a session, brings in those players, their cars, their liveries. It synchronizes weather, time of day, online traffic, and it does all of that while you continue driving, leveling up, having fun, whatever. And it feels like a very small thing, but it is actually one of those things that when you experience it, it feels like a very magical next-gen thing. And I hope it actually attracts some people who wouldn't ordinarily play online to do so.
Brilliant, Ralph. Well, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to playing the game myself, and thanks for your time.
I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. So clearly a monumental challenge bringing a game of this scale to the Xbox One, as well as the design concepts in terms of online functionality. It's been a very ambitious project, and one which has been executed very professionally by Playground Games in cooperation with Turn 10 Studios. I haven't had the chance to play it too much yet. Obviously I played it on the day, and I'll be playing some more on the channel in the coming days. Many of you have been playing it for a couple of months and know it very well, but either way, just to have a little bit of gameplay on the channel just to enjoy it. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.